WTIM, your information station. It's time now for your expanded local news. Fire crews responded to a house fire on Tuesday morning in the 800 block of East Ash Street in Taylorville. The Taylorville Fire Department was called to the scene around 9:30 a.m. and found flames in the attic above a bathroom. Firefighters quickly brought the blaze under control and performed extensive overhaul to make sure that it hadn't spread beyond the area of origin. The homeowners and their pets were inside at the time but were able to get out safely, and no injuries were reported. The cause of the fire was determined to be accidental. The American Red Cross is assisting the homeowners and finding a new place for the time being. The Taylorville Kiwanis Club heard from 11 students participating in the Christian County CEO program, along with their facilitator, at their Tuesday noon meeting at the Moose Lodge. CEO stands for Creating Entrepreneurial Opportunities, and the program meets on school days from 7:30 to 9 a.m. at their CEO classroom in the U.S. Bank building in Taylorville, as well as business locations throughout Christian County. The program was the brainchild of the late Craig Linval, a Taylorville native, who felt high school seniors needed entrepreneurial experience in their communities outside of the classroom. The Christian County CEO program is supported entirely by local investors, which are businesses and individuals that make 3-year or single-year pledges to keep the program going. The Taylorville Kiwanis Club has been an investor from the program's inception. 17 students are participating in this year's class from several high schools within the county. Neil Hohenstein is in the 5th year as facilitator. CEO students each shared part of their CEO story. They told the Kiwanis Club that 166 students from 6 high schools were in the program over their 11-year history. Each year, the class visits some 40 businesses and hosts many business leaders in their class sessions. The program gets students out of their comfort zone, and they also shared information on their recent tour to Chicago, visiting businesses created by the Berry brothers, who are Taylorville natives. Christian County CEO students appearing at Tuesday's Taylorville Kiwanis Club meeting included Angelina Ippolito, David Schaefer, Alex Davis, Josie Heberling, Ross Brown, Autumn Hobbs, Ella Davis, Charlie Craigs, Caitlin Foster, Rayleigh Aller, and Ellie Mateer.
Thanks to your sponsorship, 166 students from 6 schools across Christian County have been able to come into the program, learn the business skills, and go out into the world and use those.
CEO stands for Creating Entrepreneurial Opportunities. It's a year-long course that covers an in-depth overview of how businesses develop and run successfully.
The overall culture of a business is important because it influences how employees interact, make decisions, and ultimately contribute to the company's goals.
For the beginning, it gets you out of your comfort shell when we go to business leaders and stuff, the community, more important people to our community.
We are incredibly grateful for the amazing experience and opportunity. Throughout our trip, we received valuable advice and insight from some of the most successful entrepreneurs in Chicago that were all born here in Taylorville.
We're looking on to our next class business, particularly somewhere around Christmas time.
The Taylorville Kiwanis Club is part of a global organization of volunteers dedicated to improving the world one child and one community at a time. Weekly meetings are held Tuesdays at noon at the Taylorville Moose Lodge. And for more information on the club, go to TaylorvilleKiwanis.com. Pana High School is enjoying success in and out of the classroom with regionals for volleyball and football just getting their start. 7 student athletes, all of whom are seniors, sat down for the WTIM Pana Morning Show to discuss their winning seasons that they've put together. In volleyball, Kennedy Boker, Joey Laker, and Reagan McLaughlin discussed their coaches, culture, 26-8 regular season record, memorable moments, and more. And as for football, Carter Barber, Lincoln Burris, Parker Moore, and Gatlin Worker talked to new coaching staff, offensive and defensive sets, and a preview of their matchup on Saturday afternoon. The volleyball team faced Sullivan yesterday in the first round of the playoffs. The players shared their most memorable moments in their time as Panthers. They include bounce-back wins and the overall friendships that they have made.
Personally, I don't really like seeing a familiar opponent because that makes us kind of go into it thinking we know some things when some things can be changed up. But, I mean, I still think I'm still confident in us. But definitely not my favorite.
Okay, not your favorite. What about for the others?
I actually like that we're going to play Sullivan just because we know their weak points. We know whose nerves we can get on. We know their serves really well. If we're back there and we know this girl has a deep serve, we can back up Now, if we were to play another team, we wouldn't know more.
Okay. And Reagan, what are the closing thoughts on that?
I would say I am glad we're playing Sullivan because we already know what to expect for the most part, and I'm just excited to beat them again.
Their success is a result of long stretches of hard work, especially for those who have witnessed the growth in recent years.
I would say the elementary kids. I know I go over and mentor, and they all make posters for me, and that just gives me something to look up to because I know they look up to me.
I would say probably the coaches. They really push you to be better and really want you to do your best on the court and outside the court.
I would say my family inspires me the most for the fact that they're always at every game, always there to watch me, and I feel like that inspires me just to always continue to play my best because I know they're always going to be there to support me.
Each of the 3 team members we spoke to have drawn inspiration from different sources as motivation.
Well, I can say for Reagan and I, freshman year at the end of the season, we got thrown into the varsity lineup, and that was definitely a little scary at first being freshmen. But then I think that helped to grow our character and kind of step in as leaders, being that we had to kind of start from freshman year.
Well, actually, this is my first season starting varsity. I got a varsity jersey at the end of my sophomore year, and I think I've been a pretty good aspect to the team. It's really hard because a lot of the girls have been starting way before me, but it got so much better just because of support.
And on the gridiron, the football team hosts Bismarck hitting Rossville Alvin at 1 p.m. on Saturday. The players say that the offensive and defensive units each have set their team up for success on the other side of the ball.
Well, we were 8-1, facing one loss against Vandalia, and I think really the end of the season really wraps up everything. I think we went 3 or 4 games in a row, winning by 40 points. I think in at least recent history, we're the most scoring team on the season in Pana history. I think that just speaks measures about our team. Offensively, defensively, defense gives us the ball back, and then offense, we act on what the defense does, I guess. Anybody else want to jump in here?
We've definitely improved throughout the year. We coming in with the new coach, we didn't know their schemes that well when we first started, but after a while, we started to trust them and be able to go after what they were wanting us to do.
He's just very football intelligent and expects us to show up every day and put in the work and just buy into it and do what he asks.
I feel like he brought he brought a whole new playbook, and the plays that he brought they're all like really good, and they just help us develop into a better team than we were last year.
Offensively, they credit the line for allowing the receivers to run their routes and the quarterback to make sound decisions within the pocket.
Yeah, they just allow me to sit in the pocket. I can vividly remember a few times where I just sat back there and just waited for my routes to develop because there's absolutely no pressure on me. And then when their pressure does come, they just take them where they want to go, and I step up through, I step outside, get out of the pocket, run around. The line really allows me to do anything I want, essentially. And I think the 60-40 split is pretty accurate. Of course, against other teams it changes, but the first thing Mark told us in the beginning of the year was that we're going to be a run-heavy team. That's very accurate. The run is deadly. We watched film, and Coach Conlon pointed out, just look at the line. It's almost like a wave just running through their defense, and no one's really been able to stop us yet.
More information on the playoffs for football, volleyball, and the many other interscholastic sports in Illinois is available at ihsa.org. Carter Barber, Kennedy Boker, Lincoln Burris, Joey Laker, Reagan McLaughlin, Parker Moore, and Gatlin Worker appeared as guests on the WTIM Pana Morning Show. This will conclude the first portion of your expanded local news, and it's brought to you by Taylorville Community Credit Union.
Member focused, and proud to serve anyone who lives or works in Christian, Montgomery, or Shelby counties. Discover the credit union difference. TCCU is your partner in financial success. Member NCUA.
The Illinois General Assembly is in the final stages of this year's veto session. This is when the General Assembly discusses and votes on bills that the governor has fully or partially vetoed. The two chambers can also each take action on bills which the other chamber has already passed. There are a number of top priorities among lawmakers and the governor during this time period, with a wide range of views on them as expected. Dr. Kent Redfield is a professor emeritus of political science at the University of Illinois Springfield. He says that when the governor gives a line item or reduction veto to a bill, there is also a higher vote threshold to back the original bill, compared to actually ratifying the modifications.
In Illinois, we gave, in the 1970 Constitution, we gave the governor really, really strong veto powers. On a subsidy bill, he can sign it or veto it, but he can also offer an amendatory veto, which then comes back to the legislature, and they need a 60% majority to override a veto, but they only need a 50% vote to accept the governor's changes. So it really gives the governor a lot of leverage to say, normally a legislature says, here's the final version, take it or leave it. And in Illinois, the governor can say, well, here's another version. And, you can have this one with just a simple majority, or, if you want your original bill, you got to go back and get, 60 votes. So in the House, and 60% vote in the House and the Senate.
The big issues in this veto session include insurance regulation, energy reform, and funding for the public transit systems in Chicago.
Most states don't have this extraordinary veto power for the governor, but a number of them do, and it changes the dynamic to give the governor some extra leverage. And so what he's saying, you say you've got a bill doing, making some changes with oversight of insurance, which is something that the legislature's been talking about with all the increases in homeowners. He can come back and say, well, I don't think you had it exactly right. So here's my suggested changes. And then you put normal majorities on it. And with that, that'll become law. But if you want your original bill, you've got to come up with enough votes to reject the amendatory veto and restore the original bill.
And away from Springfield, President Donald Trump has sought to send National Guard troops to Chicago. He has authorized the move, but rulings from a federal judge and appeals court have blocked the deployments. This all comes as local governments in the Chicagoland area are addressing the presence of Immigration and Customs Enforcement, or ICE, officers in their jurisdictions.
It really is at a standstill. You've had some local action where, the Broadview is a community outside of Chicago where there's a detention facility, lots of protests going on. And, the mayor of Broadview has created a designated protest zone. So you're trying to keep the activities, out of the street in a particular area across the street. That's kind of these are executive orders. The Cook County chief judge and the county board president have issued some executive orders trying to restrict ICE and Border Patrol activities from making civil arrests in county courthouses, operating in, on county property.
More information on UIS's political science program is available at uis.edu/SPIA. Dr. Kent Redfield appeared as a guest on the WTIM Morning Show. The Lakeland College Broadcasting Club is once again stepping up to support students and families in need with their 19th annual campus food drive. Donations are being collected now through November 30th, with plans for all proceeds and food items to benefit the Lakeland College Food Pantry. The club is accepting all individually packaged, non-perishable food items with a special need for spices, seasonings, canned meats, and pastas. Drop-off boxes are conveniently located across campus in the Luther Student Center, the Northwest Building, the library, and the West Building. The pantry provides free food for students and their families, helping reduce food insecurity both on campus and within the surrounding community. This year's drive is also part of the second annual Illinois Community College Board, or ICCB, food drive. This drive helps promote a friendly statewide competition among community colleges to collect donations for local food banks. Last year's event brought in more than 91,000 items across Illinois, with Lakeland having a big hand in its success. Anyone with questions about donating can contact the Radio Broadcasting Department at 217-234-5373 or by email at 899themax@lakelandcollege.edu. More information about the ICCB food drive can be found at iccb.org. Roxana High School has authored a proposal to the IHSA that would expand the high school football playoffs from 256 qualifiers to 384 qualifiers and would alter the regular season scheduling to a flexed regional format. If adopted, the IHSA football postseason would have 48 playoff teams in each classification, which is up from the current number of 32 qualifiers. In Class 1A through Class 6A, the top 8 seeds in the North and South brackets would receive an opening round bye, while in Class 7A and 8A, the top 16 seeds would automatically advance to the second round. The flexed regional scheduling model would divide the state into regions of at least 6 teams determined by geographic proximity and enrollment. All eligible playoff football teams in the state would be divided equally in the 8 classifications before the season, which would become the group of teams that are divided into each regional. Schools would be able to schedule their non-regional games on their own, and under this proposal, week 1 of the season would start a week earlier to allow the state championship games to still be played during the week of Thanksgiving. Roxana High School Assistant Principal Adam Miller explains why they feel the 2 parts of the proposal actually fit together. The IHSA's Legislative Council must approve the proposal before being placed on an all-school ballot for a vote from all IHSA member schools, and if approved by a simple majority, the policy would go into effect for next season. This will conclude the second portion of your expanded local news. It's brought to you by CNB Bank and Trust.
At CNB Bank and Trust, we believe banking should feel personal. Our checking accounts are designed to make everyday life easier with local service, modern tools, and a team who knows your name. We've been growing with our communities for generations, helping families and farmers and small businesses reach their goals. Because here, you're more than an account number, you're our neighbor. CNB Bank and Trust, helping to open doors since 1854. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
Moving to obituaries, which can be found at TaylorvilleDailyNews.com and are brought to you by Sutton Memorial Home.
When it comes to organizing your life, Sutton Memorial Home in Taylorville has some words of advice. Consider pre-planning your funeral. The death of a loved one can be a traumatic event in people's lives, and you can spare your family the burden of planning a funeral when they are grieving. Sutton Memorial Home knows that establishing a pre-arrangement assures that important decisions and your personal selection are made in advance and spares your family an additional burden at their time of loss. Sutton Memorial Home in Taylorville. Caring is what they do best.
88-year-old Nellie Fleming of Rochester died on October 21st. Visitation is November 13th from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. at Sutton Memorial Home in Taylorville. Funeral service will be November 13th at 11 a.m. at Sutton Memorial Home in Taylorville. Funeral arrangements are being handled by Sutton Memorial Home in Taylorville. 63-year-old Rhonda Corbin of Morrisonville died on October 23rd. A celebration of life will be on November 8th from 1 p.m. to 4 p.m. at the Morrisonville American Legion in Morrisonville. Douglas, or Doug Scott Crawford of Taylorville, formerly of Kincaid, died on October 23rd. A celebration of life will be on November 9th at 1 p.m. at the Funky Monkey in Taylorville. Funeral arrangements are being handled by McClure Funeral Home and Cremation Services in Taylorville. And 82-year-old David L. McMurray of Dacula, Georgia, died on October 15th. No services will be provided at this time. Get details on these and other local news stories at TaylorvilleDailyNews.com or hear them every hour on WTIM. WTIM is your only local news radio.